Hi, I'm Susan Frenck, and I'm going to be talking to you about the Tutor articles for JPTSS. What we're looking for from Tutor articles is something that's pretty narrow in scope and very specific. We'd like to hear from you. What are some challenges you've had in your centers? What are some questions you've been asking? What are some issues that have come up? How have you dealt with those problems, questions, issues? And what can we learn from your experience, right? Was your experience a success? Did you find a solution? Did you answer your question? And then what can I gain from my center from your experience? So let's take a look at the guidance that's provided in the Tutor article guidelines. So as you see here, we're asking for manuscripts that tell a story in the sense that they're going to tell us your journey through this issue, right? So who are you? What's your school like? What's your center like? What's the question or issue or problem that you're dealing with? How did you go about addressing that issue or answering that question? What steps did you take? What resources did you use? And then what was the solution you came up with? What was the answer to your question? And how did it go, right? So really what we're looking at is one maybe key idea, something that you discovered through your experience that I and other readers can gain, maybe put in place at our own centers. Okay, so although we're looking for a narrative, it shouldn't sound like fiction, right? We're not talking about writing a novel or a short story. It's still going to sort of be in that professional tone, and it's going to, sort of walk right through the steps, but it is going to be personal in the sense that you're telling us your journey. Okay. It does say here, as you see, that we want a brief literature review. And I just want to clarify that by literature review, we don't mean that you're going to talk about all the literature in Writing Center studies. We don't expect you to write a professional article like a professor would write. We also don't expect that you are going to give us all the research that's been done in Writing Center work, right? That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is, what are the resources you used, or the sources or the information? What did you use to answer your question or solve your problem? Okay, so when we talk about the literature review, it's probably going to be pretty brief compared to what you would see in an article written about research, right, by a research professional. All right, so you see here we have a lot of guidance in this template and the rubric, so we hope you'll take a look at that. I'm also going to show you an example. So let me switch over. This example is one that's based on an experience that I had in my own writing center when I was the director of a writing center at a high school. Okay, so what you'll see here is that we wrote about a specific issue in our writing center. And that issue was that we did not have enough tutors in our who were in a class for peer tutors that were available at a time when seniors needed help with their application essays, right, for college applications. So we had that specific problem. What are we going to do about the fact that there are a lot of seniors who are writing their application essays for college, and they'd like feedback from tutors, they want to work with tutors, but we're not available? So what we did is we describe, okay, who are we? Where is our school located? How many tutors were there? What's the setup? What's the sort of context of our problem that came up? And then we talked about what our problem was, how we had this shortage of personnel. We were short-staffed at this time when seniors needed help. Okay. Then what we did is we talk about the steps we took to solve this problem. And for us, what happened is we were actually researching how to write college application essays so that we could help students, right? And in the process of doing that, of looking into what these essays were like, we discovered sort of a solution. We discovered that there were videos showing actual admissions board decision making, right? That the people at college would look at an application and talk over the essay. And when we saw those videos, we thought, oh, this is something we could do in a sense, right? So what we decided to do with our few tutors at that time during the day is we would have the students submit their essays, right? And we would sort of model ourselves after an admissions board, looking at the essay, evaluating it, and then giving feedback to the student. this was a way that we were able to meet all that demand, right? Because instead of meeting one-on-one with a student, right, to talk about his or her essay, their essay, and look at it that way, we got their essays, we read them over, discussed them as a small group, and then we gave them the feedback. So that was our solution, and it really worked well. So what we do here is I talk about the resources we used for to learn about college application essays, how we could evaluate them, and then I have a link for that admissions board. And so anyone who wants to sort of do what we did can look at those same sources. So that's my lit review right there. Then we talk about the difference it made, right? The how, and oh, I shouldn't forget to add that we also include the form. This is the form that we created and used so students could see our feedback, right? Could get our feedback. It was the one we used as we were going through their essays, right? So the students would attach this form to their drafts and then hand it in to us, and we would look at their drafts and then return it with feedback. So the nice news is that, again, you can look at the links we provide, and you can also use this form in your own center if you want, okay? Then we talk about the success of it. We say, okay, we had a lot of students who came in, we were able to meet demand, we were able to look at some of the essays more than once, and it was a lot of fun. We gained a lot, and we think that the students we sort of tutored in this different way, that they gained a lot too. So we talk about our success, and then in the last part of the essay, I talk about how we think that this would be beneficial for a lot of centers. If you have a demand of this kind, here's one way you can deal with it. If you have seniors writing application essays, maybe this is an approach you could take. We also talked about the idea that if we're doing more virtual tutoring, that this might be a nice way to, something we could put in sort of virtual setup, right? That this is sort of well suited to that. So that is what we talk about in our essay. Notice that if I were going to sum it up, I could say we didn't have enough staff to meet demand, we did a little looking, we found a solution, here's our solution, and here's what happened as a result of what we put in place, right? So that's what we want to see in the tutor essays, the tutor papers, that you're writing us about your situation, what happened, how did it go. And I think if you look at the example here, if you needed a solution like this, you would find that you could take the materials that are provided here and do them yourself. That's something else we'd like to see. Is it, you know, as you present your ideas, think about how might this be useful to other centers. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful to you. If you do have more questions, there are ways you can contact us through the website. We're more than happy to give you feedback, answer questions, so please stay in touch. And we're so excited to see your manuscripts come in. Have a lot of fun with this, and we look forward to seeing our amazing JPTSS filled with tutor papers. Thanks.